Fear and Age, A Difficult Duo by Pamela of Alexandria 2015. Narrated by Janine Penfold. As a young country girl with a certain creative bent, I once set up an ingenious spider on a pulley trick where a phony but realistic-looking rubber spider was rigged so that it lifted when our outside toilet door opened and then dropped down onto the head of my intended victim when it was pushed shut again. The shutting action was meant to lower the arachnoid look-alike onto the target, or two targets actually. My older brothers, who you could say in colloquial language had dissed me at the time, and who were usually the only ones who frequented the outdoor loo. Unfortunately, Gar, my elderly grandmother, an arachnophobic city dweller, happened to be visiting us that week, and it simply never occurred to me that she would use the outdoor loo rather than the indoor one near the guest room. But she did. And late on the night, I'd finally perfected and set my trap up. A hair-lifting shriek rent the air, followed by a pulsating wail that could be heard all over the house. I realised immediately that my plot had failed spectacularly, incredibly spectacularly, on 2 counts. Now my brothers would never experience the creepy spider on head in the night shock I'd spent so long plotting and orchestrating. And even worse, my parents were about to kill me. And actually, I did feel like a killer after they'd finished with me. "How could you do that to Gar?" they ranted. "Don't you realise she's elderly? You could have killed her with that stupid prank." I was very surprised that a shock like that could actually do my grandmother in. I never saw her as frail or elderly, maybe wrinkly and a bit slow, moving around, but basically the same as the rest of us otherwise. Now, decades later, having gained the dubious distinction of being a hyper-mature adult slithering inexorably into my 70s, I'm experiencing firsthand how different and difficult things can be for the elderly. There's no denying the smorgasbord of unwanted physical and mental developments that aren't just offered, but forced down elderly throats over time. I've noticed things creeping up on me, or rather down, as with the onset of ice cream melt body, where my once firm flesh is making a determined and largely successful effort to slide slowly south. I've noticed dulling reflexes, which necessitate being extra cautious while driving, so I don't leave a trail of innocence lying unnoticed, by me, on the road behind me. And then, of course, there's forgetfulness. Those, "what did I come to this cupboard for?" moments which can be very frustrating. Fear, the antithesis of joy and contentment, has started emerging in response to this physical deterioration. These days at the beach, a few ripples are big surf to me. If I get in there, will I get back out alive? A steep hill is Kosciuszko. Will my heart give out halfway up? When I go out in the old jeans and sweatshirts I'm most comfy in, will people look down on me? Because respectable senior citizens don't dress like that? Will I look like, as the old saying goes, mutton dressed as lamb? The nappy aisles of supermarkets are not part of my experience yet, but as parts of my body begin to wear out, I fear I'll soon be a connoisseur of every brand available. Yes, I'm experiencing a lot of fear surrounding the inevitable changes that come with age. The biggest of them, of course, being the ever-lurking fear of that mortal use-by date escalating towards me at what seems like ever-increasing speed. But then, would I swap old age for youth? Go back to a time of taut skin, fast reflexes, and hormone-driven craziness? To that heady feeling of being in a powerful body, doing things like surfing in a wild sea, something that would see me in the morgue if I tried it now, and living life with passion, the immediate thought is yes, I would. But the truth is, my younger years had their downside too. The fears experienced back then were just different to the age-related ones I have now. In fact, many fears back then were crippling, born of a mix of circumstances and a hormone blitz mind. I experienced fear-inspiring rows where either my partner or myself threw things, including ourselves, and also suffered hideously over difficult university exams which I was terrified of failing. Through necessity, I worked in places at times which were very scary, to say the least. One, an illegal gambling den in Oxford Street, which I thought in my innocence was a wine bar. And then, when I had children, there was a whole bunch of new fears that came right along with them. Though, of course, I never, or almost never, regretted having them. So no, I wouldn't swap my ageing self for a young version. There is such relief now in not having to compete for a job or a partner, or deal with the endless demands of little children and assorted animals. Not any I can't give back, anyway. It's so nice to have time for me at last. So many of those exhausting things that tested even the very strongest youthful me are in the past. And there is so much I have now which I value greatly, like peace of mind and more clarity about life. As for the fears around ageing, I'm allaying them by doing my bit and trying to be as healthy mentally and physically as possible. Optimal quality of life is a real and obtainable goal which I'm working towards. It's good to be fit for the future too. At present, my adult children all seem to love me immensely and wouldn't dream of euthanizing me. Without my permission, that is. But should the status quo change, I plan to be ready. The end.